What's up, everybody? How's it going? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Bailey Canning. I'm an independent marketing strategist, and on today's video, I wanted to give you a quick overview as to what I believe every professional service-based firm should be doing from a marketing perspective. This is the type of advice I find myself often giving on sales calls whenever I'm talking to a business owner or a marketing director, and the company is either getting started, so it's in its infancy, or it is not focused on its marketing for a very long time and they're starting from scratch. So I wanted to just break down what the journey looks like in terms of developing a very lean marketing strategy that's very bare bones, that you can get it up and running very quickly and then start driving immediate return on investment. And what is the shortest path you can take to starting to get some traction online with your marketing efforts, generating leads, and then ultimately taking those leads and closing them into sales. This video is going to be broken down into three main parts. Number one is going to be branding and your website. Number two is going to be marketing for lead generation. And then number three is going to be lead nurturing so that you can actually close some sales. From your client's perspective, this video is going to cover the entire online journey they take from first discovering your business online to booking that first time consultation and then ultimately signing up for your services. Everything I'm talking about in this video comes from my experience working for two separate advertising agencies. One was a very large one in New York City, and then the other one was a very smaller startup focused firm. And then for the past 3 years, I've been on my own as a self-employed digital marketing strategist. So I just say that to say that I've worked with brands who are spending millions of dollars on ads, and I've worked with brands that are spending like $500 a month on ads, and I've seen the gamut and I've seen what works and what doesn't. This video is going to outline the steps that you can take to start to get a solid online presence up and running and start generating leads within 1 quarter of business, give or take. We'll be jumping into all those topics very shortly here. Feel free to skip around with the timestamps, but before we get into that, let's take care of the housekeeping very briefly. So like I said, my name is Bailey Canning. I'm an independent marketing strategist, and as part of those efforts to promote myself to prospective clients, I generally put out at least 1 video per week here on YouTube covering topics such as branding, web design and development, and ongoing digital marketing. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, I would love for you to subscribe so you never miss one of my videos. Feel free to leave a comment and introduce yourself. And if you're active on LinkedIn, also feel free to follow me there. I do sometimes post short form content, whether it's just clips from these YouTube videos or even natively. So that could be another good way for us to connect and start a conversation. All right, now with that all taken care of, let's dive into today's video. So the first step you need to take to start to begin to have success with your online marketing efforts is going to be to first develop a very good brand image. I'm talking both the visual design aspects of the brand. That means having a well-designed logo, that means having an interesting color scheme, and that means having some nice typography as well that doesn't look super standard and bland. And then also on the messaging and positioning side, you're going to want to have a unique brand image that is very different from your competition. You're going to also want to ensure that you're well positioned within the broader market so that your marketing message is very unique. Now, there's a whole lot to be said about how do you create a unique brand identity. Do note, I do offer all these services to my clients as an independent strategist across branding, web design and development, and digital marketing. So if you are looking for help in those areas from a qualified professional, then definitely stick around to the end of this video where you can learn more about what it would take to potentially work with me. What I would recommend here is when it comes to your branding, the visual design aspects, unless you have, experience in graphic design, I would highly recommend hiring a professional graphic designer who can create a really nice logo for you, can give you a really unique color scheme that is again going to be differentiated from the competition, and can also help you pick out some nice fonts, which do go a long way in adding very nice design value to all your marketing assets. So definitely don't overlook that. I can tell you also, this is definitely something you probably do want to pay for. It really does make sense to invest in a logo and a strong brand identity from the start. Now, when it comes to more of the general business strategy of branding, that's going to be the positioning, core messaging, that's going to be your values, your offers, and things of that nature. This is all very important because one, we want to have a unique marketing message that connects with your prospective clients and then differentiates you from the competition. And then this way you are positioned as a premium service provider that's able to charge premium prices instead of being seen as a commodity. If you hire someone with solid branding experience, like a marketing strategist or a brand strategist, they can help you develop this. However, if you're on your own and you're a scrappy entrepreneur, or maybe you lead a marketing team internally and you're going to be doing this, what I would recommend doing is reading the book called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. We'll link it in the description so you can check it out. It's very short, but it basically outlines an entire framework you can use to develop a compelling marketing message that's going to resonate with your prospective clients. And I actually made a video on that as well. I'm going to link it up here. It's a branding exercise I often do with my clients when they come to me for a web design project, but then upon learning more about their business and seeing where they're at, it's clear that they need some branding work, but sometimes they just don't have the budget, or sometimes they already have some solid brand items in place, like the visual identity. However, they do need a bit more of a strategic messaging framework if they're going to have success with their future online marketing efforts. So that is another case in which I sometimes use that story brand framework. The main reason why I recommend that is because you could easily develop a compelling marketing strategy for your company in 2 to 3 hours following the steps in that workshop. So it's a very efficient way. If you're short on time or resources, once you have a solid brand in place in terms of its visual identity as well as its messaging framework, then you can move forward with designing and developing a website. Now, this is a huge topic. There's so much I could say here. In fact, I have so many videos on this topic already. But what I would say here, just from a 50,000 foot view, would be to focus on just getting the essential pages you need, because like I said, you don't have 6 months here. Honestly, you should be able to get this website up. We're talking like a V1 Launchpad type website. I'd recommend you aim to get this up within 30 days. It can literally just be one page. It doesn't need to be like a 50-page website, because the way you should be viewing your website is that it's a living, breathing digital sales asset that you can always be adding more content to, more features to, more bells and whistles. But really just start with one really solid landing page that you can begin driving traffic to. The reason why you need to get your website right in the first place before you can do any online marketing is that you need to have a solid digital presence that you can send people to. It's not enough just to have a cool social media profile. You need to have a solid digital marketing asset in place to drive traffic to, because if you just have a very basic Wix website template that doesn't look professional, doesn't have really good design value, you're going to fail to make an impression, and you're ultimately going to be wasting all your efforts marketing your business online and trying to get eyeballs and visitors to the website, because even if they do click on your ads and they come to the website, they're going to be very unimpressed. They're going to leave, and they're probably never going to visit your website again. And in today's online world where you go into a coffee shop and you see everyone on their laptops or their phones, or you just walk down the street and you see everyone on their phones, your company's website is going to be the first impression people have with your brand. And if it fails to make a good impression, there's tons of other great businesses they can go to in their local area. So you really need to make sure your website is dialed in, because if it is, it's going to make all the marketing efforts and all the sales efforts that I'll start to talk about now in this video so much easier. But if it's not, they're going to be fighting an uphill battle the entire time. Now let's talk about marketing for lead generation and what your professional service company can do online in order to start seeing immediate results from its efforts. One thing I think many business owners and even professional seasoned marketing experts get tripped up on here is that when it comes to digital marketing, there are so many different tactics and strategies you could potentially pursue. It makes it very difficult to actually determine a very simple, streamlined strategy you can follow that's actually going to be able to produce results. As a professional service-based company, the number one thing you must begin doing is going to be to produce content online. Ideally, it's going to be video content like this. The second best form of content would then be a video podcast that lives on YouTube that can be split up across many different social clips for your different social media platforms like LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Producing content is going to be non-negotiable if you're a professional services company that has a relatively high ticket offering, because many times your prospective clients need to do research online, and so you can meet them there while they're doing research to provide educational content that informs people about your services, what they need to look for before they hire a company like yours. It can also be entertaining content, but ideally it just needs to be valuable, because that is the only way to actually build a connection with people today. And video is just a great way to do it, because in one sense it's one-to-one, but it also has the ability to be viewed by hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people, you name it. So video content, I believe, is the best content to be pursuing. It has a lot of different repurposing abilities, but it's also also the best for sales and lead generation. The reason why you need to be producing content is because you need to build an online audience of fans. That is a foundational marketing thing you need to be doing in 2024. And so that is why I recommend just starting with it, because content ultimately is what is going to allow your business to establish itself as an expert. You're also going to get people to know you as they binge your videos, and they're going to like you, ideally, hopefully, as long as you're pretty chill. And then ultimately, as long as you know what you're talking about, they're also going to trust you. And you need all three of those things right there in order to generate leads and close sales. And content is just the best way to communicate your company's message at scale. So I recommend starting to make YouTube videos just like I'm doing right here. I preach what I practice, and then you can use tools like Opus Clip, as I've talked about in this channel, to then take that long form YouTube content and then automatically split it up into short form clips. That way you can build out an entire social media strategy. You're then staying top of mind with your network and your existing followers on social media. And then also these videos could then live on your website as blog posts. I'd recommend creating a quick summary. It could just be bullet points using AI tools like ChatGPT. And then over time, you can begin to get traffic from SEO, from Google search, which is also going to be very important as people search for local service providers in their area. I really recommend focusing primarily on one platform and going all in versus trying to be everywhere and spreading yourself too thin and then ultimately getting nowhere. Now let's talk about how this content can then be used to generate leads for your business, and then how you can also nurture those leads once they have either joined your email list or entered into your marketing funnel, so that you can ultimately get that first time consultation booked. The first thing you need to realize here is that many of your prospective clients, of all the people that could potentially buy your services, there's a very famous quote from that book, Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. Highly recommend you check it out. In that book, he talks about how only 7% of your total addressable market, 7 to 10% give or take, is ever going to be in market to engage your services right now. So that means that all these short form marketing or sales efforts, cold calling or cold emailing, while they do have their place, they only address a very small percent of the market. Whereas there's this 90% of the market out there that will one day need to hire your services. Like, for example, maybe you're a real estate agent. Eventually, hopefully everyone's gonna be able to buy a home sometime in their life. Eventually they're gonna need your services, but just not right now. So you don't wanna burn any bridges, and you don't wanna have any bad will, and you don't wanna spam anybody. So that is why the content play is huge, because it takes a long-term view and it builds an audience online so that once they are ready to hire you for your services, you're going to be positioned as the go-to resource. But also you need to have some sort of offer from all your content marketing efforts that's going to get people into your marketing funnel so that you can then begin to engage them in the sales process. You need a primary offer that is going to be your primary call to action, or CTA. For many professional service-based companies such as myself as a marketing strategist, this is going to be a consultation or a strategy call or an intro call, something of that nature. Basically, it is a meeting where you can learn more about the prospective client and sell your services to them. What I recommend doing here is trying to introduce as little friction as possible in the sales process, so it's super easy for your prospective clients to book this meeting with you. So I recommend setting up some sort of Calendly-like tool where people can just book time directly on your calendar. This way it's super simple for them to schedule a meeting with you. And in the early going, I would put very few fields in there because you need to be generating leads. But over time, as you grow your business, I would recommend you add more qualifying fields so that you don't end up wasting too much time on sales calls with unqualified prospects. Now, again, like I said, only 7 to 10% of the addressable market is even going to be interested in this offer. So what you need to do is also develop a secondary type offer. And what I recommend using a secondary offer for would be to build an email list. So all your viewers on YouTube, you can actually start to have their contact information, for example, and then you have permission to market to them directly. And so the best way to do this would be to have some sort of lead magnet. It's basically a downloadable PDF guide that people need to leave their name and email address for. You then send them this, and then you can begin to market to them via email. And so the way I'm breaking this down now is that you have a primary CTA offer for people who are in market right now looking to hire your firm for whatever services you offer, and they're able to book time directly on your calendar with a tool like Calendly. And then 2, for people who are interested, maybe they're like a month or 2 out, they want to learn more, but they're just not ready yet. You want to have some sort of lead magnet type offer. So for example, one of the clients I'm working with right now is an architecture studio in San San Diego. We've developed 2 really good lead magnets for the 2 primary project types they work on. So that is a guide on how to build a custom home in San Diego, and then also how to build an accessory dwelling unit in San Diego. Both of those lead magnets have gotten hundreds of downloads. We've built an email list of over 1,000 people, and now we're getting consistent sales leads from that. So I highly recommend you build that email list, because that is going to be the email list that you want to send all the content to that list going forward. And then you can also set up some automated email flows that look to book that consultation over time. This whole strategy is going to be able to allow your company to get eyeballs and get found organically online as people begin to search for services like the ones that your firm offers in its local area. You're going to be able to build trust, authority, and likability with them. And then once they actually go to your website, they're going to see a very compelling brand with unique messaging. And then finally, you're going to have compelling CTAs on that website that are going to enable you to generate leads, whether that's people booking consultations or signing up for your email list. And then you can nurture those leads going forward until they ultimately do book that consultation. Again, this was a very high level video. I've already made many videos diving deeper into several of these topics, and I plan to make more videos on things like email marketing and branding, for example. So I definitely recommend subscribing to my channel, because if you found this video helpful, all my videos going forward are going to be very helpful for you as well. All right, so as I talked about, if you are a professional service firm, whether that's an accounting firm or an architecture firm, an engineering firm, interior design firm, I've worked with all those types of companies. If you are interested in learning more about what it would take to build a compelling brand online, develop a strong website, and then ultimately follow some of these ongoing digital marketing strategies to generate leads and close sales, then definitely feel free to book a free intro call with me. There's a link in the description of this video where you can learn more about what that would entail. But basically, I will take the time to learn more about your company, its background, its competitors, its strengths, its weaknesses, what you guys are already doing from a marketing perspective. And then based on everything you tell me, I will help you outline a website and digital marketing game plan in order to start increasing website traffic, generating more leads, and closing more sales. So again, link in the description if you want to learn a little bit more about what that would entail. You can book time directly on my calendar, and otherwise feel free to subscribe. I thank you very much for watching today. Bye.